All right. Is our co-host coming?
I don't know, but Ambassador Lisa, you can announce the topic. We are live, Ambassador Lisa. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to you, our brothers and sisters here on the continent, here in the diaspora, and on the continent of Africa. And wherever it is that you are listening from, we are so glad that you thought it not robbery to join us today. Today's topic is sex education and sexually transmitted grades. Yes, I said sexually transmitted grades, which translates also as education. So we're going to be talking about those situations where our students, our young ladies, especially our young ladies, are being forced into sexual abusive relationships and incidents because of grades and how they get their grades and how they receive teachers or teachers receive them. So we want you to join us. If you've got some insight, please join us on Facebook as we're streaming live. Join us on Zoom if you have some comments and you would like to join in the conversation. And if you're going to be watching the replay of this, add your responses to the Facebook live comments and we will look at them and maybe we'll have this a topic again. So at this time, we're going to turn it over into the hands of our co-host, Professor Niasam. Take it away, my brother.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lisa. Welcome to the show, our chairperson, Reverend Palm. And welcome to all of us who are watching or listening or participating in one way or the other with Africaonline Media Corporation's Sunday afternoon or evening broadcast, depending on where you are on the continent. Yes, it is quite a topic, sex education and sexually transmitted grades. Ambassador Lisa broke it down for you. What is sexually transmitted grades? Well, of course, follow us on the program as we begin. It is the 5th month of the year, but it is also one of those words in English language used in different forms. For example, to express possibility or admitting that something is so. It may rain soon. Yeah, it may rain soon. That's just me talking. It's just using the word may in my sentence. You may be right, of course. Well, I may be wrong. Okay, so may also expresses permission. You may ask your question now. You may speak after her, or you may dance if you want to. There is a lot of music, or you may go outside and enjoy the weather. Without turning this into an English grammar class, permit me to add that may, M-A-Y, is also used as an auxiliary, as in, say, a prayer or a benediction. May he keep you and may he bless you abundantly. So you use those. Okay, for today, however, suffice it to say that May, that is the month, is the name of the 5th month of the Gregorian calendar, a month closely associated with spring, a month of blooming flowers, green leaves, and a month of beauty. Yes, I love spring because of that. Given our context, that is, given the period in the year, May, with a capital M, is the 3rd of 7 months in the year to have a length of 31 days. May is thought to have been named for the Greek goddess Maia, I don't know how to pronounce that in Greek, M-A-I-A, who was identified with the Roman era goddess of fertility, Bona Dea, whose festival used to be celebrated in May. Enough of that. You may want to admonish me to that. So no problem. Okay, I take your advice. So let us delve into history without saying too much about this day, May 2nd. May 2nd, 1945, when more than 1 million German soldiers officially surrendered in the to the Western Allies in Italy and Austria. That was the waning days of the Second World War. 2011, May 2nd, 2011. Do you remember that date? Well, that was when Osama bin Laden, remember that slim, bearded cave dweller who is thought to have been the main brain or the mastermind behind the September 11, 2001 attack, terrorist attacks, and the FBI's most wanted list on history, in history really. Well, this man was killed by US Special Forces in Abbottabad, Pakistan, 10 years ago. That is in 2011. Yes, this day, May 2nd, 2011. Well, let's leave history. Our discussion topic today could be said to include terrorism and terrorists of a different kind. Call them sex predators and sex addicts who prey on innocent daughters of Eve, most especially innocent children placed in the predator's care to educate and mentor and guide and to learn skills. That is, the kids are placed in their care to guide, to learn skills and acquire such knowledge as would make them better individuals, community members, and worthy citizens. If education is the art of forming a whole human person, then sex education, the other corollary of our topic today, would be the art of inculcating in young men and women those difficult to talk about things about their bodies and how they should carry themselves around without causing people to take advantage of their personalities. Even as we seek to inculcate those ways in our teenage boys and girls, but girls more particularly, this time around, we must not, in fact, we must never take advantage of their frailties, their innocence, or their weaknesses to make them feel uncomfortable or desperate in living their lives and pursuing an education. It is called sex for grades in some countries and institutions. Luring a female or male student, for that matter, in your classroom or on your institution's campus to sacrifice their most precious physical asset before you give them a passing grade in this or that subject or test is the most disgraceful thing a teacher, a lecturer, a professor, or a mentor can ever think of doing. This brings one to ask, but just what is sex education? I'm not a specialist in the field, but from my own readings, sex education should not just be talking about sex and sexuality. Sex education should be the moment to raise awareness about an individual's developmental growth. It should emphasize, let me see here, yes. It should emphasize the importance of preserving one's body by ensuring that body parts are not exposed or touched by other people that would take them or that would make them feel uncomfortable or want to take off their clothes. That is why from a very tender age, parents should tell their children to never let people touch them in certain parts of their bodies. Teenage children should be made to understand and practice such things as not offering their bodies as toys for people to play with. Yes, sex education experts say should be having such conversations with our children as would open their hearts and minds to the dangers of toying with their bodies, either in the privacy of their bedrooms or publicly in school hallways, classrooms, or other office spaces. Sex education should include should inculcate in adults the need to never meet in closed spaces with their students of the opposite sex, to never invite their students of the opposite sex to their homes or clubs or other places away from the public eye. Too many female students in particular have become unwilling victims of pressure from their teachers, from their lecturers, from their professors, from their mentors, and from other staff members on the promise of better grades or pass marks in this subject or in that topic in which the student faces some difficulty. We're not experts in any and many fields, but if and when we work hard in those areas, we will always see the light and make it through. No amount of in-school pleasures will ever reward any student with the certificate and know-how that he or she needs to survive in the world today. Instead, such instant, one-time experiences leave you with a bitter taste, lasting hurt, shame, and of course, lasting regret. I will not rest my case until I turn to Carl Jung and say, quote, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. So I will hasten to add Leo Tolstoy's take and reminder about saving our real world, that is the environment, and of course, eventually saving ourselves Tolstoy tells us one of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. Yes, we become what we want to become through understanding ourselves and our bodies, and we attain happiness not by rushing through life, but by not breaking the link between our today and our tomorrow. So in short, we build an enduring link between who we are today and what we want to become tomorrow. The road is wide open in front of us. We are responsible for either walking the walk gradually, safely, or letting people show us how to walk it in their own way, in their own thinking, and of course, that uncomfortable moment. So please, let's go to our co-chair to lead us in this discussion this afternoon. You're welcome.
Thank you. Are you referring to me or Ambassador Lisa?
I was talking about our chairperson, Reverend Pam.
Okay, you said co-chair, so you threw me off there. What can I say?
Okay.
It's the beginning of the month, no problem.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you so much, Nia Song. You know,
Thank you.
It's always enriching listening to you. You know, this topic, you know, is the best sequel to last week's topic of sexual assault. And Ambassador Lisa, thank you so much for that video. I know Anias already Ambassador Lisa already welcome our viewers. I also like to welcome you and to ask you to share this information with the women in your life. We know next Sunday is Mother's Day, but our daughters, our wives, our sisters need to know, our sons need to know that, you know, their bodies are not for bargaining. They are not bargaining chips.
Yes.
And they are not weapons either. I was very disturbed when I watched the video that Ambassador Lisa shared. It was a BBC documentary. And I didn't even know that there was such a documentary when we decided to do this topic. In the past, we've discussed them as separate topics, but we decided to combine them this time as a sequel to last week's topic, not even knowing that there was a documentary. I was so disturbed. I'm not gonna give details of the documentary. That's not what this show is about. But I'm just reacting to it. That I was so disturbed, especially by the so-called servant of God, who was a man in authority, a teacher, a head of department. The way he was using the plan of salvation, the sinner's prayer, as a sex weapon. That scared me. I have seen all kinds of videos and I avoid watching those things because they are very depressing and they make evangelism difficult. But can you just imagine a 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl being subjected to that? And these are young, they are children at that age who are in universities. And how someone could use not just their power, but use the name of God, the name of Jesus, to entice women, you know, as a bargaining chips. I mean, and to make them, you know what?
Yes.
It's too disgusting. So it's just like these things have to be addressed. You know, that just took the discussion to another level. I was really, really furious, but I was happy that the students had the courage to wear a camera.
Yes.
Because these predators, their faces were on that camera. And I hope that their other partners, you know, would think twice and repent from their wicked ways, and to know that somebody may be recording them. And thank God for phones these days. Even pens can be cameras. But this topic is so, I am grateful to God that I never experienced that. I was never faced with that. But we want to encourage our viewers, if you have experienced it, it's not your fault. Zoom in or go on our Facebook page and weigh in. Not because you're trying to embarrass yourself, but to save somebody else, to let them know it is not acceptable. You know, for somebody to pressure you to sleep with them for grades. It happens with both genders. Years ago, there was a 14-year-old boy that slept with the teacher. Even though they eventually got married, the teacher actually had kids by him. But statutory rape is statutory rape. you know, and sometimes it is just, it's a shame that students are being put into this kind of situation where they can't even go forward with their education because some demon in the form of an instructor wants their body for grades. It's a shame. I will try to behave myself during this show because I'm serious. This is really, really, really upsetting, and especially in countries where there are no repercussions, these teachers can get away with it. They do it and get away with it, and then students, especially female students, are being subjected to this to make them feel like it's what they are supposed to do to get any degree, and it's not going to work. Let me tell you, we also what happened in Hollywood. I'm not going to mention names or go into details with somebody who was in a power authority who expected actresses to sleep with him to get acting roles. What happened to that person? So there are 99 days for a thief, 1 day for the owner. Your day is coming. You predators, your days are coming. And then the damage that it does to the victims, it is a shame that we have to keep addressing these things. It happens all over the globe, but in the Western world or the diaspora, people are held accountable. On the continent, people get away with it. There may be laws on the books to protect these children, but how many people are being held accountable? Even when people get arrested, people get bribed. Judges get bribed. Police officers get bribed, and they get away with it. Sometimes the victims are eliminated by these people in authority. So it happens with both genders, but it's prevalent where the females are the victims. Niaso.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lisa. I know you've lived through this. You watched that video. I did watch it last year. I mean, I never knew that this topic would come into our discussion room, but I watched it because I followed the BBC since my young age, and I've been following them for years now. So I followed it virtually live from London, and I was like, well, this happens worldwide. The BBC chose just Nigeria and Ghana. But if you go to any other African country, in many university campuses, those things are happening. And I'm sorry to say, but there was this lady a number of years ago. She told me her story, why her 1 year of studies at the university was delayed, not because she was dull, but because one particular professor, if I can use the professional name, told her, until I see it and have it, you will not graduate from this department. She spent 1 extra year to be able to get her degree and leave that institution. Luckily, the law sometimes comes in when people speak up. The case in the video that we shared, those cases were fired, those cases, I think, were arrested, and the law is taking its course. The one in the institution I know was finally let go because it could not continue to be a ship, a tiger, a ship in tiger skins living among those sheep. So yes, it goes with consequences. But the other part of it is the victim must speak up or tell somebody or report it in one way or the other. Unfortunately, again, some of these things happen because friends lure you to that predator. Some friends tell you, oh, look, I got grade A because I got 100% because this person did this to me. You can also get that and hasten your progress in this place, but it doesn't have to be so. The reality is, let your brain work for you. Let your God be your guide. So, Reverend Lisa, sorry, go ahead now.
Yes, I hope you've had lunch. I hope you've had lunch.
It's okay, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh my God, I am so excited to see this young man. He has been missing in action. Lisa, please give me a minute to welcome this young brother of mine. When I saw Godfrey, I was wondering if it was him or somebody else. Oh my
that's
God.
right.
He was the one that wrote such a phenomenal tribute to mothers. Was that 2 years ago? But Godfrey, what happened to you? You're welcome.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. Thank you, Asonglefac. How's everybody?
Great. Oh my God.
We are doing fine.
I am
We're
so
fine.
happy to see you.
Yes.
Same
Where have
here,
you
man.
been? Whatever happened to you?
Well, important thing is
well,
back. So we'll talk off the air. Important thing
okay.
is back.
Okay.
Bless
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ambassador Lisa, yeah, go ahead and then we'll give the mic to our brother.
Sure. Yeah, so my first trip, my first experience with this subject came in 2015 on my first trip to Africa. I mean, 2005 on my first trip to Africa. God had already spoke to me and told me what subjects to deal with when I got to Uganda. And I thought it was very odd that this would be the subject that he told me to deal with. I have a son, my first, I call him my firstborn Ugandan son. And I couldn't get him to discuss anything that had anything to do with sex or anything like that. There always seemed to be a shameful conversation. So for God to tell me to go and deal with healing sexual brokenness, I was like, are you sure? But I know God's voice. So when we got there and we landed at Kasumu's airport, we got a newspaper. My sister and I, we got a newspaper, and all we read in the newspaper were of the children who were raped on their way to get water, the children who were raped by their teachers. I mean, the whole entire newspaper, everything we read was something about some girls or children being abused sexually. And I said, okay, God, I see why you're sending me to bring this topic. I knew nothing about the culture. I knew nothing about how they would feel about it. All I knew was I had to go and be obedient to what my father sent. And he did not lie, and I did not miss him, because my first conference, the people were so broken and they were so delivered. We came home with such a victory because I had no idea that this type of thing was such a big thing in Africa. Like I said, this was my first trip. Here, as you said, here in America, we'll tell our parents, we'll tell law enforcement, people go to jail, they go to prison. And now I believe they're going to prison for life for sexual abuse, especially if they're three strikers. You know, your name is on a list. You can't move into any neighborhood because there's a watch list for sexual predators. And wherever you go, you're going to be labeled. And after this topic was announced last Sunday, I really didn't even know what I was doing, but I happened to fall on YouTube, and that's where I found that subject for the BBC documentary. And I watched in such horror, I watched in such amazement that these are grown people. Like you said, sometimes the young people are going to college at 15 and 17. I don't understand that, but these are still immature children who are being pounced on and taken advantage of by adults. So I was quite upset. Is that the field to go in, education? Because you can now be a predator loosely with no repercussions. But I was glad to see that, again, that the students were taking advantage. They were not taking advantage. Students were rising up, and they were taking authority over these situations, and they were capturing it on video, and they were reporting it. I was not pleased to hear what the university's responses were. We're taking it under advisement. We're looking into it. Like, you've got the video evidence here. These students
exactly
are telling you that they're being abused and their grades are being withheld because their teachers are pressuring them for sex. And you're telling me you're going to take it under advisement? I just went into prayer immediately. It was just such a disgusting thing to know that it was going on so freely. I had no idea it was going on so freely like that.
Thank you, Ambassador Lisa. Let's hear from Godfrey, then our amazing Dr. B. Tazong will weigh in. I mean, she got us going last week. Godfrey, we're talking about sex education and sexually transmitted education, or grades. You know, back home, a lot of parents don't have that. Even here, Africans in the diaspora, not many of them discuss sex with their kids. So over to you, Brother Godfrey. By the way, you look really good. You're a naturally handsome guy, but that jacket is on point, is on cue.
He's
Thank
looking
you very much, Reverend Pam.
Yeah, it's the truth. I call it like I see it.
Thank you so much. I really could not resist the topic, and the way Pa Asonglefac coined his editorial, come on.
Yes.
You know. So
thank you.
It's something that we really need to talk about. And unfortunately, in an African context, sex is still a taboo subject. Parents don't talk about sex at home. And like the ambassador mentioned earlier, kids now go to the university at the age of 16, 17. God alone knows why. But basically, they're immature and they find themselves at the mercy of unscrupulous teachers who now sometimes you even wonder whether they go to university to teach or to take advantage of the free lunch that the system is offering them. So I like to look at it within the cultural context of Africa, because unfortunately, Africa is a patriarchal society which historically has raised women to see themselves as property. And if we understand that the African girl sees herself as property to men, then you understand why they don't speak up when they are abused. The first is that most of the time, they don't even see it as an issue because they know that the men own them. Sometimes, even when they feel like talking about it, they are afraid of being stigmatized by their own mates. Imagine being a 16-year-old girl and having to live on campus, everybody looking at you like that girl that got raped. It's a stigma in itself. So it's a deterrent. They don't talk about it. I have lots of experiences with this subject because I got into higher education administration back in 2017. And when I was writing the quality management manual for my institution, I had a long debate with other stakeholders of our institution about whether or not to include sexual assault in the management manual. How do we define sexual assault? What's the procedure for reporting sexual assault? What's the penalty for sexual assault? What forms do sexual assault take? I mean, the concept of sexually transmissible marks is so common, in Africa, in Cameroon, where I come from. Everybody knows what sexually transmissible marks is. And it's just disappointing that even in this century, in this decade, there are teachers who still withhold students' marks because they want sex. And there are girls also who take it for granted that they are going to obtain their certificates simply because they are giving sex to teachers. I have been director of an institution, I've been dean of another institution, I've been rector of another institution, and 3 different institutions, 3 different scenarios. So there are situations where even the girls have built a whole culture around sex. When you are a male lecturer, they flirt around you, expecting that you should make advances or taking for granted that you are going to, bring them in, have sex with them, and then they are going to pass your course. That's the extreme. But in majority of the cases, we have predator teachers who use all the means at their disposal to enslave these children emotionally and even overtly make their marks disappear when they refuse to comply. Yes. So it's a real issue. And the problem I have is that our government, because unfortunately, African higher education institutions, they are mostly satellite, remote controlled by the ministries of higher education. It's not like here in the West where institutions have autonomy, they have boards, they have all of that. Most African education institutions, they take their policies and guidelines and so on from the ministries of higher education. So we have a long way to go in Africa because it needs to come from the top. If the ministries of higher education don't sit up and develop clear-cut policies on sexual abuse on campus, then we are not going to go far, because as an administrator, there's very little you can do when you don't have the backing of the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Dr. Tazon has her hands up. Dr. Tazon, can you unmute yourself? And we want to welcome Esther, who came. Esther, we'll give you the mic, but we'd love for you to see your beautiful face. If you can share your face, we'd love to meet you on air. Dr. B, the mic is yours.
All right. So this is really an exciting, sad, and important conversation that we're having. And I think I'm really grateful that we are again bringing these things to the forefront, because one thing I know about life is that when you expose stuff to the light, it has to get cleaned up. And most of the times things happen because we do not expose them. And so every opportunity we have, we should be trying to expose things, not to hurt people, but to change the status quo. Because one thing I want to say is that when I see problems now, I know how we always say, oh, African this and that. It's not an African problem. It's a human problem. Yes. It's happening everywhere. The Me Too movement in America, what was it about? It's about young girls who are trying to break into industries, and you have to sell your body to break in. Yeah. It may not have been a grade per se, but it was a path to get in, even if you had the skill set. We have jobs. We heard about Fox News, all these men in power in Fox News who were literally sexualizing women, raping them and having their way with them to let them move up the corporate ladder. So I want to say that it is not just an African problem. It is a human problem. It's manifesting in different ways. In Africa, it's more in the universities because, well, it's everywhere, but it starts so early because there are no controls and there's no aggressive action against them, but it's happening everywhere. And the reason I say that is because we Africans, we have allowed other people to keep telling us how bad we are. Human beings have a propensity to be bad unless they pay attention. So it's a human problem. Let's not keep looking down on ourselves, but we need to address it. And then the other thing I want to say is that as this conversation begins, that this thing is such a deep-rooted problem. And I became interested in it, first of all, because I just have a passion for protecting people, but also because we deal with the fallout of sexual brokenness. And I was just having a conversation with my husband, and I told him, I said, you know, it concerns me, not just because I care about people, but because I am so sick and tired of dealing with people that are broken for no good reason. Yeah. They come in with all kinds of health problems, depression, anxiety, PTSD, stomach problems, blood pressure issues, stress, sleep issues. I mean, the list is endless. You know, they come in with sexual dysfunction, they come in with personality disorders. And when you dig in long enough, you realize it's because they are so broken, they cannot carry themselves around. And so you cannot help them until you can understand what is going on with them, and you can try to get them resources to get them some healing, because without the healing, you're not moving forward. So this is a deep-rooted problem. The other part of it too is that we're only talking about the sexually transmitted grades. It's a cycle. I always look at things in cycles because things don't happen by chance and things don't end by chance. Things don't happen by chance. Somebody has to start it and somebody has to propagate it. So these young girls they're young girls who go to school looking to seduce teachers to get grades, but nobody was born that way. Somebody introduced them to that method of functioning. And so that's how the cycle begins. So yes, they may come into school now wild and out of control, but somebody got them to that point. They say when you see a woman who is crazy, ask what the man behind her craziness. I'm not trying to insult men. Women abuse women too.
I haven't heard that one.
I haven't heard that one.
Women generally act out. Women don't, even when you watch, I do a lot of human behavior profiling and so on. Women especially are very good at acting out. So when you see a woman doing some stuff, you know she's been through some stuff. Not making an excuse, but usually women they are reactive. They respond to the things that have happened to them in their environment. And so whenever you see those kind of people, you know they've been exposed to some stuff that is really crazy. And at this point, they no longer have control of themselves. They no longer have their faculties together. And when you're dealing with them, you have to deal with both prongs, their bad behavior, but also the triggers. So the other part to this thing is that not only do we have issues where women are made to feel like they're less than, which I find to be ridiculous. If women are less than, then men are less than, because a man comes from inside a woman. And yes, then you need a male seed to get a child, but a woman carries that child. So whatever dysfunction the woman has, the child is going to inherit it. So when I see men who look down on women, I feel very sorry for them because I know they have issues. So that's another prong of it. And then the other prong is we start by demoralizing women. We make them feel like they're not good enough or they cannot accomplish enough, and they feel like they have to earn things the wrong way. But what happens is that when with these STGs, the sexually transmitted grades, it causes two problems. There's a self-esteem problem, the self-esteem coming in and the self-esteem going out. So when you're coming in, you already have issues with your esteem, feeling like you cannot accomplish without the help of a certain kind of behavior. But going out, when you earn something when you get something that you did not genuinely earn, you never, ever feel confident. So you go to places, you have to keep using those tools to maintain some degree of control. If you know you got a grade in math or in law or whatever that you did not earn, you will never, ever feel like a good lawyer. I don't care what you do. So these people go out in the market and they are dysfunctional and they carry on with that behavior because they have to maintain. Remember, if you're a thief, you have to maintain. You cannot maintain a lifestyle on stolen money. So you have to keep stealing. Those grades, the STGs, when you get it the wrong way, you have to keep manipulating, conniving, and having sex to get to maintain the aura that you earned it, which you know you did not earn. There's nothing, the one thing about human beings is that you can run away from people, but you cannot run away from yourself. When you run away from yourself, that's right. You cannot fix guilt. The only way to fix guilt is to go back and correct the root problem. So when you know that you did not earn this thing, you got a grade by having sex, whenever you're called up to perform, you cannot perform because you don't have what it takes to perform. Right. So you have to either use sex.
What you don't have.
That's right. And so, it's a deep-seated problem. And the way I'm looking at it is that Africa is a dysfunctional continent because of a lot of these things that are happening. We demoralize and dehumanize people, and then we put them on the forefront, like, okay, yeah, I've had sex all the way through to get what I want, but right now I don't have the skill set. So how do I do what I need to do? I have to cheat, lie, steal, connive, deceive, manipulate to stay where I am. So what is really the point? We need to start letting people realize that this thing never ends. It's not going to end when you get out of college. You're going to have to continue it to maintain. So do you really want to go down that pathway?
Wow.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to go over now. See, Esther has shown us her face, as Reverend Pam mentioned. Yes. So welcome to the show. What is your take on this?
I was in the midst of cooking, so I was running back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And so I just got the message a few minutes ago from Ambassador.
Okay, from Ambassador Lisa. Okay.
But I'm here for the rest of the time. And
awesome.
I like what I hear. I like what I hear. And
Thank you.
Most of the time, people are introduced to things that they do. They just don't do them. It's through an experience or an introduction of it.
Okay.
Apostle Esther is my travel partner to Africa as well.
Awesome. Okay. Nice to meet you. What took you so long to get here? Today's your first show. Ambassador Lisa, you're our ambassador. You need to step on it.
I know. I'm stepping down. I had a hip replacement. We had situation with COVID. So I'm really just coming on the other side of things.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Welcome. Dr. Goji, you're welcome as always. How has it been? And sex education and sexually transmissible grades. What's your take, please?
Well, it's an unfortunate situation. It has been there from time immemorial. Laws of the countries with lands, with laws and regulation, have minimized this. In places where there's no laws and no regulation, it continues to exacerbate. Human beings are known to follow the least resistance to achieve what they want. So if a young girl goes to university and knows that, if I open my legs, I'm going to get grades, some would like to follow that route. So there's supposed to be punishment to those involved, the youngest involved, and the men doing it. Unfortunately, in this business, the lecturers getting involved is a dangerous one, because you're supposed to say, no, your job is to correct that kid and say, if a kid comes to you with a miniskirt and turn around, you say, if you come to my office next time, I'll call your parents, it will stop.
That's right.
So they have a bigger responsibility to stop this from happening. But So based on that, I think the earlier we, as a society, frowns at this, the better. But I will tell you this, I've had discussion with so many people in Nigeria, both guys and men, and I'll repeat it here. If you go to school, you study your book, you study for exam, and you pass, no lecturer under the sun will fail you. Study your book, you pass, you do exam, I get 60%. No reasonable lecturer will fail you. However,
Keyword, reasonable.
if you underperform, then you can use your bottom, if you're a woman, or your money, or your parents' responsibility to pass. So it happens all over the world. If in my university, the lecturer children will hardly fail. No matter what happened, they'll give them maybe a C to go along. If someone who's nobody, if you fail, you're gone. The women now use their bottom to make their own mark. So it's a very dynamic, even here in the United States. Go to those universities. You see a black kid in the university. You go, if you make one mistake, you repeat the class. The white kid with the white privilege, you do well. If you fail, they will pass you. All these athletes, I'm not saying all of them, they just play soccer, or play ball. They will continue to pass until they graduate. So the problem between the difference between Africa and here is that the severity of the problem in Africa is there. Unfortunately, when it says sex for grade, I like to talk about sex for grade, about money for grade. The guys buy the money, buy the grade, the girls use their bottom for the grade. So it's a serious issue. But there should be laws to punish any lecturer found to doing this so that we prevent us from doing it. That's my take. However, I want to respond to B, allegation about men making women to be reactionary. I bet you disagree. Human beings are reactionary, not just women.
Mm-hmm.
If you grew up in a dysfunctional family, you come out there, your parents were fighting 24/7, things are wrong, and then you go out there and meet this unfortunate young man and get married to him. And then you start behaving, the guy will react. His own action will not be maybe violent, not justifiable, maybe run away, not justifiable, I don't know, he will react, and vice versa. So if you say woman reacting is not the man, it is what was ingrained in her head when she was small. And men too. Men react from what they learned as a childhood. Of course, as an adult, when they grow up, our action becomes different. You see a man, I met one guy in Spokane here, this guy bought a brand new car for a priest. So the priest went to say, hello, thank you for that. The guy was living in an apartment somewhere. He said, oh, you bought me a brand new car, what, $35,000? Why do you live in an apartment? He said, you know what? I have 10 houses, I have $1 million home. I'm tired of all this nonsense. My wife wanted to kill me. I gave her all those things. I moved in an apartment, I'm happy. That's the guy actually who has a money, who can afford it. So people react, I don't know the root cause, but this guy left his $1 million home, gave everything to his wife and children. Then he has the money, go and rent a funded apartment and live there. He reacted. So people react differently. So it's a general, it's not a sexism. So men react, women react.
Okay, I think, Dr. Tarzan had his hands up then, Brother Godfrey. After Brother Godfrey, we'll see if Rachel is ready to weigh in, and Reverend Solange. So, Dr. B, you know.
Dr. Goji is starting trouble.
I know, Dr. B, your hand was up after Dr. B, Brother Godfrey, and then Rachel, and then Reverend Solange.
Yes, hello, Reverend Pam. I'm so sorry, Dr. Ogoji. You're absolutely right. Human beings respond to their environment, but the truth is that men and women are different. Women are way more emotional than men. That's why we have these things they call cat fights and all those things. You know, a man can fight with another man. 5 minutes later, they're hanging out, they're talking. Women, once you fight, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm done with you. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to be bothered with you. The friendship is over. So women are more aggressive in their response to how things happen to them. Everybody reacts. So you're absolutely right. And I wasn't trying to be sexist. I grew up only with brothers. I love my husband. I love my father. I love my brothers. I have sons. So, you know, there's no way that I can be one of those women who thinks that it's all men's fault or all women's. But the thing is that the reason why that is important is because, especially in our culture and even here, it's very patriarchal. Women tend not to have a lot of power. And so when things happen, they have less ability to mitigate. And so they're more likely to be victimized. Even in America, rate of poverty among women is much higher. When families break up, women and children fall into poverty more often than men. So it's just to say that men and women don't have the same exposure and luck, and they don't respond to things the same way. That being said, I think that you know, it doesn't take away from the focus that there are some things that are happening that are really, really sad and that need to be aggressively addressed. And I think that, you know, as we talk about people getting punished, men or women, because now it's all over the place. Men are doing it to young girls, women are doing it to young boys, men are doing it to young boys, women are doing it to young girls. I mean, it's all over the place. So we should expand that discussion, because we don't want to excuse anybody from this net that is being created. And I also feel like once a teacher feels comfortable violating a student, they don't need to be a teacher anymore. You need to lose your profession and your freedom. And I mean, if I wanted to be a little bit extreme, I would say those people need to be publicly flogged, because you have violated, you know, before they put you in jail, they need to kind of humiliate you a little bit, because they need to feel a little bit of the pain that they've been inflicting on other people.
Before, thank you, Dr. Taza, and before Brother Godfrey weighs in, you know, I think Nia Song is in heaven right now, having more than one brother on this show. So because usually it's all the women, like a women's world.
It has company.
Yeah, but before Brother Godfrey weighs in, and then Rachel will go, and then Reverend Solange, I just want to say we need to also remember that there's a difference between reaction and response. And I'm glad Dr. B, you know, responded to Dr. Goji. It may have sounded like a hasty generalization, but what she's saying is most of the time women react emotionally. But I just want to let you also know that you have the option not to respond at all, you know, than to react. But let's hear from Brother Godfrey. You know, please, we have a few more people that need to speak before we get to the top of the hour. So Brother Godfrey, please weigh in, then we'll hear from our beautiful sister Rachel. I think this is her first time on the show. And then, of course, our CFO is going to weigh in. Brother Godfrey.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. And I'll take the cue from Ambassador Lisa, who has just posted a comment asking, so how do we move forward? How do we solve this issue? So like I mentioned at the beginning, it's something that needs a comprehensive approach. If it's a fight between they versus us, it's never going to work. Because so long as there's dichotomy, there's always going to be somebody who is trying to win. And when people are desperate to win, they start victimizing other people. I'll give a very personal example. When I was Dean of Health Science Faculty in one of the higher institutions in Cameroon some years ago, there was one exam session in which I sent a set of students to the disciplinary committee. And behold, the girls went and held a meeting and came up with a strategy that since I had all evidence that showed that they were guilty of the crime for which I was accusing them, exam malpractice, the way they were going to destabilize that session was to accuse me of sexual assault. So this gang of girls walked into that meeting and laid a claim that the reason why I was so hard on this particular lady was because I had made sexual advances on her and she had not given in. Fortunately for me, that was not a new scenario in that institution. It's the director of academic affairs himself who assured me after that session that I should not bother. They've heard this before. And, you know, can you imagine? Now, in that same academic year, I had a team of lecturers inciting students against me because I had instituted academic reform that were checking against sexually transmitted grades. Because I came and made a culture in which that was a culture in that institution. So on the one hand, you find somebody being victimized by the teachers who have made that a culture, and that same person being victimized by students who think that they can use that as a weapon. So you see that it's such a sensitive topic that if we want to create sustainable change, we need to bring everybody to the table.
Yes, I agree.
The repercussions, it's something that even though the men think that they are winning, they don't get away with it. The girls who think that they are winning, they don't really get away with it because, like Dr. B has shown, it's something that you need to do all your life in order to keep up with it.
That's slavery.
Good. And one thing that I would like to point out on closing is that we should not leave parents out. The children, in my experience, the girls who are most likely to exchange their bottoms for marks in school are girls who already have sufficient low self-esteem. And most of the times, these are girls who have already been abused at home or in the community. I have not met any girl who comes to university with high self-esteem, a girl who knows that she can get anything she works for and so on, a girl who has parents that she can talk to, give in. Most of the times, they are the ones who even fail. They will prefer to fail than to give sex in exchange for those marks. So I think that the home is the beginning point. The children who come to the university already damaged end up behaving like damaged goods all along. Those who come in with healthy self-esteem, they are the ones who blow the whistles when you try to abuse them.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's hear from Rachel. We're approaching the hour. Let's hear from Rachel, and then we'll see. Rachel, do you want to say anything? You can unmute yourself. We saw you earlier. Your camera is off. Yes.
Yes, she is.
The mic is yours, Rachel.
Today, I don't think I have anything to say yet.
Okay.
Until I get into the topic.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for zooming in. Reverend Solange, can you unmute yourself? And I don't remember what you look like. So if you want to put your camera on, just in my memory.
Today I'm not putting my camera on today.
Okay. All right. No problem. Go ahead. Go ahead.
To be heard and not seen, as they used to say.
No problem. Take your, the mic is yours.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, this is a topic that I say has a lot of loose ends and open-ended questions because at first this thing is to be very common. Where is he? A lecturer or the tutor, asking sex in return for good grades. But now you have students like Dr. Godfrey was saying that are using this as a weapon also to victimize some lecturers. I think it's a control thing. It started with men being the people that were the perpetrators because of power, control. We know that power, they say, corrupts. And that brought corruption in the educational system of most high institutions. And the girls here were feeling powerless because they wanted to impress their parents by saying, oh, I passed. And the only way, I know what Dr. Godfrey is saying, that if you're from a home, you have self-esteem and all that, you could go to an institution with all this self-esteem and something could happen and your self-esteem will be shaken. Sometimes, like in this, even in the United States, we hear of kids that go to even all these preppy schools and they have all these, they are hazing and what. Back home, they used to say cutting the tail of the foxes or what. All those things would bring anyone's self-esteem down. They make students do horrible things. And it's still like that, they're scared to even tell the parents. You could be from this well-propped home, but you go into some institution and you'll be surprised how your self-esteem could easily be damaged and you find yourself victimized. As Ambassador Lisa says, what can we do to bring a change? How can we change this?
Yeah, this is Asonglefac and Nkemleke. My thinking says, where is home education? 1, 2, where is that important aspect of you being you and using the gift that God gave you to achieve your goals? Should we forget our consciences or sell our consciences just in order to attain that goal for which we may never perform right, just because we tricked our way through it? So I don't know, it's an open-ended question to everybody. So maybe Brother Godfrey will start telling us, where is conscience, where is home education?
Thank you, Pastor Asonglefac. So I think it's a tricky question, because if we work from the paradigm that let me use what God gave me to get what I want, use what you have to get what you want, then it justifies the fact that I can use sex to get what I want, because I see myself as property. And that's the issue I raised at the beginning. In most patriarchal communities, women see themselves as property. So we need to go back to the philosophy of our communities. If we don't change that paradigm, then we won't be able to do much, because the women who see themselves as property either tolerate abuse or participate in abuse because they don't see it as a problem. So there's no conscience problem there. So we need to really work on our philosophy as a society. Then at institutional levels, policy. If we have policies in place that clearly define what abuse is, show a clear pathway on how you should respond if you are being abused, and what the punishment is if you're found guilty for abuse, both on the sides of the lecturers and the sides of the students. So yes, if a student is weaponizing abuse by trying to victimize lecturers, for example, that student should face the same punishment as a person who is found guilty of abusing a student. And then home education, like I mentioned earlier, is the foundation. Parents should demystify sex. Sex should stop being a taboo in our homes. And we should grow up with a healthy culture, a healthy environment of, talking about sexuality instead of demonizing it.
Nia, so let me weigh in, and I'll weigh in with some comments and some questions for everybody on the panel to think about when we're playing the anthem, and then they can take turns and just, Dr. Goji, go ahead. Your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to agree with Brother Godfrey. The time has come, we know the women are the weaker sex. The time has come where if there's a false accusation, the other person should be punished. What happened in the college, where if a teacher wants to correct a female student, she turn around that the lecturer wanted sex, that's why he's behaving this, is very common in America. All men going through divorce are either child abusers, women abusers, and things. The raise issue of divorce, it doesn't matter what you've done for the past 20 years. The first weapon is, he wanted to get me yesterday. He beat my kid. He beat me. Then the guy trying to say, I'm dying in my house, I didn't touch her, change the whole dynamics. So same thing with domestic violence. If a woman call the cops and say, my man beat me, they find out that the man didn't touch her, case closed. Because if you arrest her and punish her, it will deter other women in danger from calling.
That's true.
Right.
So the law in this country is for women. Good, bad. The law in Africa is for men. Good, bad. There should be a balance.
Yeah.
The law here doesn't for men. He must defend himself. I didn't beat her and change the dynamic that, she has not given sex for the past 1 month. That's why they're acting. So by the way, that's why.
Thank you, Dr. Goji. You see, and that's why we keep doing this every Sunday. We've been doing it for 5 years. And, you know, you will not believe how many people have been helped. We get all kinds of emails, even people that have been abused. We're hoping that students who are listening to this or whoever is listening, they will share it with other students. I know we're coming at the top of the hour. I'll be playing the anthem shortly and announcing next week's topic. But a couple of things I want people to think about. I know Nias have asked a question along this line, but the role of the parents. Godfrey weighed in. I would like others to weigh in. We've been focusing more on sexually transmitted education or grades than sex education. When we come back, you know, we have 30 minutes. We'd like people to talk about sex education. At what age would you have that conversation with your children, both male and female? We need to talk about that because that's important. You know, and also when a student initiates this, I remember when I was in secondary school, there was this very handsome, I went to an all-girls secondary school, I won't say the name, but this very handsome instructor, economics teacher, I was his best student. One of my classmates wrote, no, not my classmate, somebody in a lower grade, wrote him a very enticing letter requesting to sleep with him. You know what this guy did? This guy went straight to the principal, an Irish reverend, and reported that girl. And I mean, that guy needs to be applauded. I wish there were so many teachers in Africa. So I want to say it's not all teachers that are predators. This guy did the right thing, you know, and needless to say, no other student tried that, you know. But also, this thing about home thing, I want to encourage parents to instill high self-esteem in your children. My dad did a phenomenal job. There is no way, even at my age, no matter what I've been through, my self-esteem has not been shaken and it can never be shaken.
Right.
No human being, because my dad did such a phenomenal job. And even at the age of 120, I will still believe that I am the best thing that ever happened to this planet. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, like Philippians 4:13. So parents, you have to instill it in your children. Don't expect the teachers to do it. Don't expect the church to do it. Don't expect the school to do it. You do it. Yeah, and once you do it, there's nothing that can happen to that child. You know, that would damage your self-esteem. It is very, very important. Parents need to do that. I want us to also address peer pressure, because some students may go, you know, when they get to these schools, the culture. So I want us to address peer pressure from their peers, telling them, oh, if you want to graduate in this university, this is what you have to do, this have to do. Or they're making fun of you, calling you reverend sister, calling you a virgin, all those type of things, or calling you reverend father, calling you, making fun of you if you've never had sex and all those things. That's peer pressure. We also need to address the culture in the community and in the school system. And then I want to appeal to the African movie industry. When you make those movies that show these negative things, please include a solution in those movies. Tell the students you don't have to do it, you know, because you have a powerful platform. Use it to educate our children, not just exposing the problem. At Africaonline Media Corporation, our motto is awareness, solution, and progress. We raise awareness about these issues, but we seek solutions. We don't just talk about the problem. We are discussing the solutions. So I want to appeal to the movie industry, you know, especially Nollywood, which is the biggest. I have some contacts there, but use your platform to educate our children, especially the girls, also the boys. But use your platform, not just share the problem, but also let them know that it's not acceptable. And last but not the least, everybody now with a phone, most students have a phone, record these perpetrators and put it on Facebook. Let them be disgraced. Record them and expose them. I mean, you don't need to show your face or put it under your name because your life may be in danger, but these people need to be, they need to be exposed, and tell somebody about it. Let them know you notified a sister, you've notified a priest, you've notified, well, that's if the servant of God is not the perpetrator. Just let them know, let them, that's another topic. Let them know you've notified somebody, either a family member, so that they know that, you know, somebody else knows about it. But let me share the anthem, and then we'll get back to this topic.
Oh, Africa. Oh, Africans, Africans for Africa. 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 Africans have many bright ideas. If only you let us share. If you really want to know my history, please come, sit down, listen to my story. God gave us a wisdom. He guides our footsteps, makes us shine and transform. Hey, as one people, with so many cultures, yet indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us all unite behind Africaonline Media Corporation. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. It's time to come together, promote awareness, progress, and solution. Hey, Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. Africans, Africans for Africa. All Africans can rally for a common cause, to believe without judgment in what our brother does. To identify and resolve our challenges, to allow each other's ideas without regard to standards. As one people with so many cultures, yes indeed we are one. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Let us solve all the problems plaguing our continent. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Let us empower Africans in and out of Africa. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. They have all the resources we need to benefit our society. Oh. Education for everyone. If we believe prosperity for Africans, if we believe medical facilitation for Africans, if we believe stand up, Africa, yes, for Africa. Africaonline Media Corporation, that's a good way to start. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the motherland. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. We were enslaved not because we were weak, but because of our hospitality. Stand up, Africans, let's save Africa. Jump on the Africaonline miracle jet. Don't be left behind. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. Together we shall succeed. Together we will win. Stand up, Africans. Let's save Africa. We are writing our own story. The truth, and we shall tell it to the world. Stand up, Africans, for Africa. No more lies. Africans own
That's
Africa.
right. No more lies. Africans own Africa. We're going to be talking, we all know next Sunday is Mother's Day, and every person has a mother. It doesn't matter how bad your mother is. It doesn't matter her level of education. She is unique. She's fantastic. She's amazing. Without her, you will not be here. So we're going to frame it, talk about her. And then in parentheses, we'll put mother, sister, wife, daughter. Every female is a mother, whether they've given birth or not. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. And we want to invite every human being, whether your mother is alive or not. I lost my mom when I was 7 years old, but my dad did a phenomenal job. So, but I just want to say, whether your mom is alive or not, come and brag about your mom. Inbox us, those of us here on the chat room, you can post it there, but hey, we have thousands of people listening to this. And before I hand over to Nia Song, for those who have been using their body as a passport or a password or an access code to achieve anything, what you're doing to yourself is worse than any crime anybody could have ever done to you. I'm talking about those who are doing it deliberately, because that's the one sin you commit against your own self. All the other things are other people doing to you. So if you're using your body as a key to your success, you don't love yourself. You are damaging yourself and you are living in bondage. So we hope that after today, you will stop it. And for those who are the perpetrators, again, nobody should be spared. I don't care who you are. Even in the village, report it to the elders, even though unfortunately sometimes all the elders are perpetrators too, or most of them. What can I say? So Nia Song, please, let's just, I hope everybody remembers some of those questions I threw out there. Again, we're talking about the role of parents, self-esteem, peer pressure, and the survival culture, where people in universities will say, oh, this is the only way to get graduate out of this university. Please take turns and address it. Nia Song, over to you.
Yeah, that being said, let's start with Dr. Bita Zong. Are you still there with us?
Right here, right
yes,
here.
Please, you go first.
Okay, so these things are so easy to talk about, but the solutions, as everyone on the panel has said, is multi-pronged, and it's what that called a social ecological model. So we start with inside the home, because a lot of problems begin from inside homes. Broken homes produce broken children, who produce broken individuals, who become broken members in society, and they perpetuate the brokenness. So let's start from the homes. We cannot fix everybody's home, but we can try to go one person at a time. And I think one of the things that I'm really pushing for right now is just truthfulness, honesty. If we see something, we should say something, because sometimes you may not be able to fix somebody's bad behavior, but you can put a stop to it. So if there's somebody who is already perpetuating abuse, or there's a child in a community who is being abused, we need to point it out, because these children are not going to heal on their own. And they're going to carry on with that behavior into universities. They are going to become teachers, they're going to become professors, and they feel like, I was a victim, nobody cared, I survived. I can victimize somebody else too. They will survive, they will just be as broken as me, but so what? I'm still surviving. And we need to kind of start teaching people to care enough about other people to put a stop to violence, sexual violence in every form when they see it, so that these things don't keep happening. We talked about what they're doing in schools. Even those people that are perpetrators, they have children, and we need to start pointing these things out to them. Your child is not safe. If you're a perpetrator, you should understand that there are other perpetrators out there. Your own children are going to be exposed too. Do you really enjoy that? Some people don't care, but I think a lot of people have to put it, that really kind of puts things in perspective for them. We talked about sex education. Of course, there's a level for each person. We can talk to children, but we don't want to get graphic with children. There are different tools and resources to help parents educate their children in every stage of life, so that you're giving them the appropriate information without giving them more than they need to hear. So we need to work on those things. I think like for younger children, one of the things that as parents we need to do is we need to be very observant, pay attention. When our children start displaying behaviors that are not normal, or they start regressing, or they just become different, their personalities change, we need to get aggressive and persistent about digging in and finding out what happened. And we need to reassure our children, which is what I do here every day, that there's nothing that you should be afraid to tell me. I am in this life, God has placed you in my care, and I'm ready to fight for you. Even if you made a mistake, I need to know about it. That way I can help you, because if I don't know, I cannot help you. So our children they have to have a healthy fear and respect for us, but they also have to have a healthy understanding that we are willing to go all the way to help them and to defend them, so that they don't get taken advantage of. And we reassure them that specific things I tell them, there's nothing that anybody should tell you when they hurt you that you cannot tell me. Don't be afraid. They say they will tell you they can kill you. So you tell the children, you help them so that they can anticipate bad behavior and protect themselves. And then they can also, they know what to do in case things happen. That will help to mitigate the circumstances. So I think there are a lot of things that each and every one of us can be doing. And even if it's not your child, I have a personal business. If I see somebody doing something funny to a child, I don't want to be unnecessarily nosy, but if I feel like it's really out of line, I will say something or I will raise an alarm. Because sometimes you're the last person that has an opportunity to help that child. Yes. Please turn your eye away. I am so desperate about this. I've seen people in situations where I'm tempted to stay quiet, but I tell myself, maybe you're the last person that God has allowed this person to get help from. Yeah. And if you don't do it, then you have become part of the problem. So my point is, if you're not part of the solution, you are automatically part of the problem.
Okay, Dr. Bitters, and hold it there. We'll go to Brother Godfrey. Those girls that teamed up to come and accuse you were certainly acting according to peer pressure. So is this a big factor in all this?
Definitely, Niasong. Peer pressure is a very big factor in all of this. And whenever I talk about peer pressure, I use it to challenge the parents, because the children who are not given a proper sense of self-identity, self-worth, and self-esteem at home go and look for it among their peers. Unfortunately, in this, very busy world in which we are, children spend more time with their peers than they spend in the home. So the little time we have with our children, we should really valorize it, stay away from the phones and TV and so on, and actually spend time with the kids. Because when they go out there, the gaps that we have left at home, the peer pressure will fill that gap. So my appeal comes back to parents. So even at the level of non-verbal communication, the way couples interact sends the message to the children about how love is supposed to look like. So if you are a man who abuses your wife, how do you think your daughter will perceive herself as a girl? When a man abuses her outside, she will know that that is normal. She will not need to come and tell you about it. So it's like Dr. B said, it's a multi-pronged endeavor, and it really puts responsibility on every one of us. And unfortunately, that's what people don't like. People don't like responsibility. But this problem will not go anywhere unless each of us take our responsibility.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ogoji. Brother Godfrey mentioned something there, or alluded to something, that aspect of children and parents particularly not doing their full jobs. So you as a parent, what is your take on peer pressure, parental responsibility, and getting this problem out of the way?
Well, parental responsibility is a key. You should be able to make your children feel free to talk to you when you need to talk to somebody. Make sure your children find you as the most trusted person they can disclose the most secretive part of their life. You should have an open hand that you come and tell you whatever I want to tell you without, so you can listen. That's one. Number two, peer pressure, like tell my children, when you go out there, people offer you cigarettes. people offer you marijuana, people offer you cannabis, people offer you this. Come tell me, I need to know.
Yes.
I need to know. Things like that. Then sex education. When do I start when my kids are ready? My daughter comes at 7 and says, Dad, what is that Viagra advert on the TV?
Good one.
Right. So what? They're talking about sex, which is something grown-ups do. I don't think you're ready for this, but it's something grown-ups do. When things, if somebody tells you about this, come and let me know. Somebody mentioned about sex to you, I need to know one. Do you have any specific question? You go with the flow. And then another thing I tend to do with my kids is once in a while, can I have your laptop, browsing history, and see what's going on?
Yes.
Every week, I get a report of all my kids' browsing history into my email.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic.
I get all my kids' phone. Once it's 9 p.m., once it's 8 p.m., no games. They can still make phone call. It's shut off automatically. No games. And I know what they do in their phone. So these are my only two way of doing things.
Yeah.
If only last year I let my kids the Xbox without password. Just last year I took out the password last year. I said, but I don't want to see in that box after 7 p.m. I see you there, put the password back. So I try to also let them go to be responsible.
Yes.
No password, you can go play when you want to, but once it's 7, don't go there. I don't want to see them before 10. Things like that, you know. There are things you can do, so I let them loose. When they're under 7 or 8, trust me, hold them like this. You should ask for the password to play any game. After 7, 8, then you should let go. Then middle school is a terrible time. My son goes to middle school next year. I cannot emphasize it right now. I'm telling him, middle school, you are your own, but I'm there with you. Because that's when all the damages happen. Middle school.
Yeah.
Sister Rachel, you've been listening and you nodded many times. I think it looks like we're hitting the nail on the head. Say something about all this: parental responsibility, peer pressure, and the sex education per se.
I think we lost her. I don't see her on the screen. Let's move on. We have 9 minutes.
Okay.
Reverend Solange,
yeah, Reverend Solange, is she there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You're out or you're good?
No,
Say
my
something.
face, I'm invisible today.
No, it's okay.
I'll be visible next week. Yeah, I was listening to Dr. B. She said something that you may have a dad, and I know it's a scenario, you know, and I was really, this man, it's a lecturer in a university, and he's one of those perpetrators that exchange sex for grades. So now the daughter went to one of the other universities, and there was another instructor there that was asking her for the same thing. Unfortunately, the daughter did not know that's what the dad does. So she comes home trying to tell the dad that, Dad, see what's happening to me. This lecturer wants me to sleep with him for grades. And the dad tried to play around it. The daughter didn't even know. So that is double damage to that child, because you're running to your dad that is doing the same thing. So where can you run to? Because your dad is not giving you any straightforward answers. He cannot say, let me go talk to that guy, because maybe they know themselves as doing things like that, because believe me, it's like some kind of boys club. They may know that all of them are doing it, yeah. So how do you, the child now cannot, you come to your dad is a perpetrator. You go to your university, your instructor is a perpetrator. You are caught between. How do you?
And they may go to church, and the choir, the youth pastor is a perpetrator.
He's a perpetrator. So where do you run to? Nowhere to hide.
To God.
Have mercy.
Yes.
Have mercy, Jesus.
So we just have to really pray that there's some things that, as I said, there's so many open-ended questions. There's so many wide roads leading to sometimes nowhere or dead ends. And I just pray that God Almighty can really help.
Well, the good thing is that in this digital age, there's help online. So if you don't have any physical person to talk to, you can always go online and reach out. You know, so there are options. There are options there. Yeah,
very true. Very true.
Yes, indeed, there are options. So we should let our children know how to use those options. And of course, while they use those options, they should also be very careful because some may claim to be options, but they're
When
actually
they're not.
the devil in disguise. Yeah, that's it. Yes. So let's see, Ambassador Lisa.
It's muted.
Oh yeah, unmute,
Come on,
please.
my sister Apostle Esther at the moment. I'm in the middle of something.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sister
Pastor Esther, are you
go
able
ahead.
to speak? We are almost at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, just real quick. That was exactly what I had wrote to Prophetess Lisa. People have to have people they can trust, you know, and once you have that contact information and have people you can trust to even get that information, because everybody don't have the information. So you still got to go to someone to get the information, but you got to be able to trust people that they're not going to judge you. They're going to be there for you. They're not going to have any prejudgments. And then the other thing was that I've learned through personal experiences in my family that people that are perpetrators, those that abuse people sexually, have been abused. They have been victims before they even got into messing with anyone else. And that's because they never got help. And every one of them had the same answer. I was afraid to tell somebody. And it happened when they were a young child. So they grow up as an adult and they still carry this. They become teachers, they become pastors, they become all these different professions. And what they do, it comes back up and then they go and do the act. So hopefully we can come up with better ways to let people know they can come and trust us without any judgments, without any, anything other than to help them. Because even given information, they got to know they can trust telling you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. We are going to take a round of the table. Please ready your thoughts as we share the last few minutes of the program. We're going to start with Dr. B. Tazon. Please, your last word on the show.
Okay, that is so powerful, Miss Esther. Just realizing that this thing the bug doesn't end with one person. It's a cycle. I wanted to say something real quick about peer pressure because I'm trying to teach my own children not to yield to peer pressure. And one of the things I do is I remind them of who they are in Christ. You are wonderfully and fearfully made. You're an individual, you're head and not the tail. And I said, you want to be leaders. Leaders don't follow. Leaders.
That's right.
So if you're going around listening to what people are telling you to do, right there, you just lost your position. Mm-hmm. Number two, as parents, we need to start modeling this thing with peer pressure. I don't know if you guys pay attention. America has a whole lot of peer pressure and they're very subtle. Oh, well, we do this during this time, or this is how we should dress on this day. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. If I don't understand why, or I don't know what's going on, or I don't see the purpose of it, I tell my children, we're not doing it. I don't care if your entire class is doing it. I say, if you want, I can move you in one of your friends. You can go stay with them and do what they do. But in this house, we don't do that.
That's right.
So I'm teaching them to take a stand, Yeah. I don't want you to feel like you have to do what everybody else is doing, because that's really what peer pressure is. Even adults in this country, they go through a lot of peer pressure. People do things they shouldn't be doing because their friends and their social groups are doing it. And so we need to start from inside the house. Don't just tell your children not to follow. Also, let them start making sane decisions. Even if I'm your friend, if you're out of line, I'm not going to go with you. I don't care what you think about me.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to Dr. Ogoji.
You're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Ogoji, please unmute yourself.
Okay. So basically, my last word here is we have to tell our children to cut their coat according to their pockets, not their size, to be self-satisfied or to feel, because as we talk about peer pressure, sexual grades, all those things, another part of this is people go to the university and they want to behave like others. It starts from when you're small. Are you happy with your shirt? Are you happy with what your parents can offer? Mm-hmm. So greed play a role in all this. Some kids are actually smart. They want more mark. That's one. The number two, I keep emphasizing this in my Nigerian community. If you go to school and you pass your work, nobody will fail you. Of course, there's one or two crazy lecturers that will want to sleep there and insist that you don't sleep me or fail intentionally. That person should not be there. Speak up, speak up, speak up. And
thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Ogoji, thank you very much. Brother Godfrey, your last word on the show.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I would like to conclude by sending a shout out to Dr. Ngong Jacqueline Shaka. She's one of my mentees who, right out of medical school, she took up this challenge and created an organization called Youth to Youth. It was launched in Bamenda 2 years ago. So that's one initiative that we can already start using as a best practice, where young girls themselves come together to create platforms that provide peer-to-peer support. Because sometimes the structures don't exist, or the culture doesn't permit that children should talk to their parents or some key figures in the community. But if they have peer-to-peer support, then that can serve as a buffer zone to then get them the help that they need. So I think ventures like that should really be encouraged and supported.
Please, can you type the link to the U2U on here so our viewers can follow it? Yes, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thanks. Okay. All right. Our dancing prophetess, Solange, please, the word is yours now. I mean, the turn is yours now.
Well, as everyone says, parents should talk to their children and build some self-esteem so they can at least say no. I know sometimes it's not easy to say no when the lecturer is insisting and all that. I've seen children with very high self-esteem after peer pressure fall for things that they're not supposed to. Personally, I'm a trained counselor and a child clinician, but I don't practice in that area. And I'm telling you, some good students can easily fall prey. So we just have to, as I said, there's so much help online. Let them go to all those resources and seek for help.
Ambassador Lisa, your last word, please.
Please unmute.
Yes, I think, and I say this quite often when I'm in Africa, we may have to discount all the parents or that generation up and just start from those under our children. They are the future. They are the mega harvest. We start with the children, educating them about self-esteem. The question was asked, when should parents start teaching their children? When you're giving your child and you're able to teach your child what their body parts are and what they are properly called, and then not touch this. Don't let anyone do this. Don't let anyone have any way in this area. And making it, like again, making it very clear that they can come to you and talk about anything. I think that is one of the beginning steps that we can use to begin to break this cycle of sexual abuse and sex for grades, sexually transmitted grades. I tell you, the first time I heard that last week, I was like, what is she saying? And that's how I found the BBC article, because I went to look for sexually transmitted grades, and that's what came up. And I'm sharing in the chat box. There's a cartoon that I enjoy, Campus Couple, that deals with the same thing. And I was putting in episode 4 and 5 for you to watch as well. And that may be a good way for us to educate our children who are going to university. You know, they may not want to sit through a BBC, but they maybe watch a 10-minute cartoon. And we just have to find what works to help educate and deliver our children.
Thank you very much, Reverend Pan.
Yeah, Ambassador Lisa, sometimes, you know, those things just come out. But as far as this topic goes, not sex education, but sexually transmitted education, or grades actually, I frame it education. That, I growing up, I never heard of that. I heard about that just 6 years ago. So I went to an all-girls school. Maybe that's why I never heard of it. But, you know, but some of these topics, like today when we said, you know, brag about her, that just came. A lot of the topics just come like that. But, you know, with all, you know, all seriousness, hopefully lives have been changed. People have been informed. One quick thing I just want to mention, sometimes the community, they blame the victims. Please, let's not do that. Let's not. Let's support them, and please go online. If you don't have access online, talk to somebody. reach out to somebody. You know, it's better to tell somebody than to keep it. You never know. If you tell somebody don't do anything, tell somebody else, but don't be quiet, please. And for those who, I know Ambassador Necessary will start with our children. I will not discount even the adults, because there are a lot of adults who have low self-esteem issues. You know, they also need help. Niason.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for being here today. It's been a great pleasure for Africa Online Media Corporation. We look forward to seeing you again next week, and please go now, take a rest, and of course, enjoy the beautiful weather. For those of us in North America, it is beautiful out there. Thank you all so much, and let's make it a date next Sunday. Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you. Have a blessed week.